Hello, everybody. It's Marcy again from wavesofcommunication.com with today's episode of Live Facilitation Q&A. If this is the first time that you're watching me, my name is Marcy Melzer, and I am an intuitive speech and language pathologist and language facilitation consultant. And I have an online platform called Waves of Communication where I help parents teach their late talking children how to use natural spoken language to share all of their wisdom with the world. I have many different ways that parents can learn how to do this. These live Q&A sessions are just one of the opportunities. I also have written a book. It's called If It Isn't Fun, It Isn't Fun. Teach Your Child to Talk Faster Than Speech Therapy. It is available on Amazon and on Audible, so you can get that if you are interested. And just FYI, there is a link in the description for how to access my website, wavesofcommunication.com. I am offering a sale, a big sale on my independent study course. I have a comprehensive online course that takes you from where you are now all the way to spoken language. There's strategies even for social language development in that course, and it's on sale right now for only $450. It's a $50 savings, and you also get a consultation with me with that and a copy of my book. So if you are interested in getting in on that sale, it is only good until the end of the year. I also want to make an announcement. Next Saturday, this coming Saturday, is my communication switch workshop, which is only $30. And that is a way for you to interact online with myself and Devangi Dalal from India. She's an internationally known, renowned audiologist and speech language pathologist who has worked with parents all over the world and primarily in India. And she and I are doing a joint workshop for parents. It is called Communication Switch, and it's designed to help you learn how to facilitate language with super fun activities, interactive activities, and you'll leave the workshop with a plan that you can use to take your child to the next communication level. And it's only $30. You can join via teleconference. It's only going to be available live in this opportunity, but it's Saturday night. It's 8:30 Pacific and 11:30 Eastern time on Saturday the 22nd. You can find out all the information about those programs on my website at wavesofcommunication.com. All right, I know that you joined this video if you're watching live or on the replay to learn about what I had talked about in the title of this video, which is using movement to facilitate speech production. And I picked this topic because we had a discussion over in my group on Facebook. I have a group called Language Facilitation Resources for Parents. If you haven't checked it out, it's over there. It might be even how you found this video is from that group. But in that group, I posted a note this week to ask parents strategies that had been working for them, because it always helps me know kinds of things are working for all of you out there. And if you are watching this video now, even on the replay, and you have used any of the strategies that I have talked about in other videos, and you've seen some significant difference, good or bad, excuse me, please consider writing in the comments of this video the strategies that you used. Now, the reason I decided to talk about this particular strategy using movement is because 2 parents responded in that thread of facilitated of strategies that I was kind of hoping parents would share, and they did. They were talking about how the first mom, let me find her question. Actually, I've got it right here. Her mom, this child's mom, it's a boy, her name is Jenny, and she has a 17-year-old late talker who has apraxia. And her response when I asked what strategy worked to help see a real difference in your child, her response was that sign language, using sign language as a bridge, was a great strategy for them. Now, for kids who are late talking, and I didn't know had apraxia at that time. So I was curious to have her expand on that and tell me what she did. Like, how was it that sign language helped her child start to talk? Because I think that a lot of parents are suggested to use sign language from speech therapists, and many parents do. But I kind of was interested to see Jenny's feedback and see how she used sign language to help her child. And she says that she stopped using it really therapy a long time ago, but because she was doing more than therapy, but she was pairing the sign with pictures and the spoken word. And I wasn't really sure how that worked. So I was talking with her about whole body movement and stuff. But the idea that a child, started to talk by using sign language as a bridge started to get me thinking about how that is working for families and how that potentially could work for you. And then, of course, I had another mom, Janice, who has an older late child. It says about 2 decades, so he must be 20 years old. Her son has apraxia, and he finds it extremely difficult to vocalize. But he has for about 2 decades, which means he's about 20 years old or older, been better at vocalizing when he signs along while trying to say a word. This is spontaneous, not something he was taught to do. So, and she went on to share even more. So again, this is coming from Janice from over on my Facebook page. So both Janice and Jenny both have older children who are late talkers, and they both used sign language as a bridge. And it seems like Janice says that her older child seems to feel better, has more freedom to try talking when he's moving his hands. And actually, that's one of the things that I was curious about with Jenny as well. And I told her that many of the parents of older kids who are stuck in nonverbal language patterns, they're using sign language instead of talking. But both of these moms said sign language helped their kids start talking. So where their kids are stuck, older kids that are stuck using sign language, those are the parents that I'm finding who are reaching out to me for assistance. And they're telling me often that their kids are relying on the sign to communicate instead of using it to talk. So they're using it as an instead of, not as a helper to. And then I started to think about, and then Jenny also said that her boy does not have anxiety around talking. So he signs while he's talking, and so does Janice's boy, and he signs while he's talking. And again, both of these parents, their kids are older than 10, and they are using this movement as a way to help them produce more talking. Right? So I think that that's incredibly fascinating and something for us to consider here. And so the other thing that Janice is talking about is that she says that her child also has echolalia, but she gave us an example of how it's spontaneous that he tries. She says he has apraxia and finds it extremely difficult to vocalize, but he has been better at vocalizing when he signs along. Maybe it could be a form of echolalia, him echoing his signs with his voice. But there seems to be some way that making the word with his hands, actually making like the sign for cookie, helps his motor memory on how to say it with his mouth. I'm not sure how that works, but signing undoubtedly makes a difference in his ability to vocally produce a sound. So I started to dig a little bit more and see if there was any research around this idea. And in fact, there is. So for this part, which is the expressive language part, I actually I put in the description of this video a link to a white paper that I read by some guys named Ezequiel Morsella and Robert Krauss, and they're from the Department of Psychology at Columbia University. And I put the link there. And what they were saying, what they found in their study was that when people were talking, just in general, people who could talk, they moved their hands spontaneously, even when it didn't have a reason. So a lot of times people use gestures for real communication, like late talkers. They point to the things they want. And even people who are talkers use gestures to mean things, even facial. We shake our head, we point at things, we hold our hand out, those kinds of gestures that are meaningful. But these guys studied that people who are talking, even when they're on the phone, are using these gestures. So people, people, I'm one of them. Look at me. My hands are moving all the time while I'm talking. It's just like Jenny was saying, a spontaneous thing that happens to me. I think particularly when I am thinking of what I can say. I do my live videos on the fly. I have notes, but usually I go from the notes or a question into giving answers for folks. So what usually happens for me is I find my hands all over the place. You've seen me if you've watched me on videos. I've knocked my glasses off. I hit my microphone. My hands move spontaneously while my head is thinking of the right words to say. And I don't think in this study that it makes much difference about which activity you're using with your hands to make it go as far as production. So you can be flapping your hands, pointing at things. Look at me. None of the things that I'm doing with my hands are meaningful, but I do these little mimes, and I do some of the YouTube video people that I watch doing other things as I'm learning are also hand moving people. But others are quiet with their hands and they're more poised in front of them, kind of like newscast. I expect they need to use some of them. They flick their pen, or they manage papers, or they do things with their hands while they're even reading teleprompters. Why do people feel the need to use their hands? Because these guys at Columbia University figured out that there is relation to hand and body movement and our ability to think of, put together, and produce, say the right words. Now, there also is a study that was done a little bit later, and I don't have the link in the article, but you can Google it, because what happened also in this question was Janice went on to talk about how she saw an experience where her son was shaking the hand of a politician, and she's not sure, like I said, if they have to have. She heard him say, "I heard you," while shaking a politician's hand. It wasn't a gesture he did. It was actually something he did functional with his hand, but no one else heard it. His voice was in a whisper, and he only said vowels. So it was probably like kind of thing like that. He made noise though with his voice, and his mom heard him make a voice while he was shaking the guy's hand, and it was appropriate. It was 3 words, and this obviously was a surprise to this mom, because she said it's not, I didn't notice whether even someone else had said "how are you" to him so that he was imitating it, but she felt that it was a real spontaneous 3-word phrase and not something he normally can manage unless he is signing. So, or singing, she said, singing. So it could be singing or signing. Like if you're singing along, maybe he can do like Old MacDonald had a farm, like he could string 3 words together, but his apraxia is significant enough that getting out a string of words is challenging. Yet, while he was shaking the guy's hand, he said, "How are you?" And I think that's fascinating. And I think that this study, if you're interested to read more about how moving your hands facilitates speech, here's a study about it. And then you can also think about, I've done some other videos where I talk about how movement facilitates speech, because I've interviewed kids who have autism and are verbal, and they talk about, like my friend Ben, he talks about how when he moves his hands in flapping, flailing, kind of like I guess what I'm doing here on this video, when he moves his hands on his own and flaps, it is easier for him to put sounds together and produce speech. So I believe believe that hand movement should never be restricted in kids. And if they want to sign, if they are truly apraxic and can't get their body going or their mouth going to say words, and the hand movement in both of these guys' cases, even though their speech is not perfect for other people, it makes them feel less anxious so that they are actually enjoying trying to make their mouth move while they're doing whatever they're doing with their hands. And it's helping them produce spoken language. So the idea of the anxiety being gone because the kids can move freely and their parents don't restrict whether they're signing or whatever. These parents are both noticing that in their kids, that was a big helper. All right. So now here's the other thing that she said. I'm wondering if signing along with what he's hearing is also helping him with auditory processing, or at least some aspect of receptive language. But I'm not sure if it is actually helping anything. However, look at this. I've noticed that he now often signs along with some of what he hears. For instance, he's now recognizing some words in songs and signing them, songs he did not learn as sign language learning songs. So these were songs he learned, like maybe he's listening to pop music, like Taylor Swift, somebody like that, and he's trying to sign along with those things, which he wasn't taught in sign language. So he himself is using the sign to help him, kind of like the first mom was talking about, pair the visual imagery that he actually created with his hands, the signs that go with the words that he's hearing and picking out in the song, which music is also the easy. Obviously, his mom says he likes music. Most kids, especially kids with apraxia, are a lot more fluent. Kids who stutter, a lot more fluent when music is involved because the rhythm, the cadence, the memorized phrases, even that's why they use echolalia too, because they can get a whole phrase out, like their body has learned how to put together the motor stuff for those fun phrases. And so she thinks that he's starting to sign more now, and you've noticed that he signs what people are saying to him over the telephone a lot too, which is what these other guys were saying. So in this study with Ezequiel Morsella and Robert Krauss, they're talking about these guys who they quoted in their study. So this is a white paper. They gathered all kinds of research from other people and put it together with their opinion about how what they believe movement facilitates speech. So if you have an apraxic child, you definitely want to go and read this article because it's very, very interesting how these guys found different ways and they have different ideas about what proves that movement facilitates speech, or at least it contributes to it, right? It contributes to ease in speech production is all I'm saying. At least we're seeing here for sure. And these guys talk about these people they quoted, De Ruyter. It's in 1998 was this study, so a long time ago. He says he makes the case for the gestures made when people talk on the telephone. The fact that people gesture on the phone does not rule out the possibility that gestures are communicatively intended. Gesturing could be so intrinsically linked to speaking that it's hard to suppress gesturing when speaking on the telephone. And I'm here to tell you that was 1998. This is 2019, and I can't suppress my hands while I'm talking on video. I'm not even in front of a human being, and I'm not even trying to explain anything, but it's very difficult for me to keep my hands still. So it's definitely proven, and it's definitely been studied before. It is conceivable, these guys say, that if gesturing is deeply integrated with the speaking process, then the mere fact that the address E is invisible, like you guys out there, is not sufficient to cause people to suppress gesturing. And for whatever reason, this gesturing is helping me talk subconsciously somehow. Right? It's so subconsciously necessary and linked, say these guys in 1998, De Ruyter, that it's what we do. It's like we have to talk. So if you are in a position with a late talking child and you're ever finding yourself where you need to restrict their movement for any kind of reason. It's very, very important that you understand why this could be detrimental to, first of all, your child feeling easy and happy about trying to talk. It's not going to make their speech perfect. They are going to make their speech perfect the more they try at it, right? So even if your child has apraxia, just like these kids who are in their teens and 20s, they are learning how to themselves as young adults, right, learn to compensate for this motor challenge that they were born with. Now, the other thing that I am finding with the kids in my program who have diagnoses of apraxia and are now using spontaneous verbal speech, there's a video that I have, you might have seen it, about a little guy who is 10. He was very much in the period of time when I met them about a year ago, it was December last year I met them, and he was only using echolalia-based language, and he was using the rapid prompting method and spelling out to communicate his ideas. But it was starting to break through that he really was interested in learning to facilitate more language. Now, his parents, he has motor problems that are evident in his limbs. So he was having fine motor issues, numbness in his hands, different kinds of things. And they addressed his whole body structural movement, chiropractic, and they also worked on whole body coordination on things that are not speech related, such as riding a scooter and a bicycle with coordination, running, climbing, painting, and art that are more gross motor kinds of things, and even exercise, like workout exercises where you have to do specific exercises and follow directions and stuff. And in combination with using those activities, shoveling snow, riding bikes, swimming, these activities paired with language facilitation of language models that were easy, happy, safe, and fun, she facilitated with her son, who was diagnosed nonverbal, severe autistic apraxic, is now having conversation, and he's like playing gym, what do they call those guys? Gym trainer, where he's like telling everybody how to do the exercises, counting them out through their reps, not hesitating at all. There is no blockage to this kid's attempts. He even himself verbalized, I am a talker. I am talking now. And his mom worked really hard with him on just making the whole process easy and eliminating the anxiety. So if your child is older and they have apraxia and you notice anxiety that stops them from trying to make vocalizations themselves, words, practice words, singing, echolalia, it doesn't matter. If they're moving their body and they're moving their mouth at the same time and vocalization is coming out, you want to replicate and duplicate those experiences as much as possible. And you do this by having fun, right? You dance, you sing, you climb, you ride bikes, you go to the rock climbing wall, all the things that you love to do. You get the sensory ball and bounce on it. You jump on trampolines. These movement things while you're talking about anything. It doesn't have to be talking about you are jumping on the trampoline. You can jump on the trampoline and work on final consonant deletion if you have a phonological kiddo. Movement facilitates speech and language because they're very closely related. The coordination of the whole body movement, it's motor body movement, it's ease. And kids will more readily work on these whole body things like riding a bike easier and faster than they will work on talking, especially if they've ever had therapy that revolved around repetitious activity. So if you do have a child with apraxia or motor disturbance problems, there is the big theory that repetitious motor movement will somehow contribute to long-term motor memory. And those philosophies are being disproven because natural language facilitation is working faster for parents when they eliminate pressure to imitate and say things that kids do. As a matter of fact, in what this mom goes on to say is that her child is doing a lot of echo singing. I forget the term for echo singing. It doesn't matter what you call it. When the mom sings, the child sings at the same time. When the mom talks, the child talks at the same time. This is a child's way to try to do the same thing you are doing. They want to practice and see you do it. It's just like if you were trying to teach somebody to knit or do something fine motor with their hands. You practice over and over again. You practice over and over again. You practice over and over again. And then you're able to do it, right? But with speech, it must be functionally produced ideas from the speaker. It has to be your ideas that you're generating to spit out your mouth. That's why movement, it creates fun noises out of your mouth anyway. You giggle and yell when you wrestle on the floor. You jump with glee. You on the roller coaster, you scream, right? This is the kind of vocalization you want your child's speech and mouth motor things. That's the spontaneous, like the stuff that makes me not move my hands, right? We want speech to be natural and spontaneous, like you can't help but stop it. You know, it moves on its own, right? That's how talkers talk. Children who are late talkers with apraxia that are trying to say what other people want them to say, just the fact that other people want them to say it blocks it. They can't imitate. It doesn't work like that for them. You have to bypass all of those repetitious prompting their mouth to move from the outside in. The movement centers in your brain, in your ears, in your whole body as you move through life. These things are very closely related, and they're finding it in neurological studies, fMRI studies all over. You can Google it. You can Google fMRI and speech, and you can see that there are studies at Columbia, at Harvard, at Yale, internationally in Barcelona. There are fMRI studies going on right now to identify what's going on with speech, because it's a really tricky thing. The scientists haven't learned, but more and more studies are correlating this movement of a whole body with speech production. So try hard as you can, whenever you're facilitating language with your child, to involve movement. If you have to sit in one place to do it, move your hand, color. Have your child color, have them stacking things, have them squishing clay, have them biting on stuff in between. Whatever allows them to move themselves, and let them choose the movement, right? Give them opportunities, but let them move while they are talking. Because if you try to stop them, it would be like you saying, okay, I have to do the whole live video with my hands on my knees now, and I'm going to be distracted thinking about my hands on my knees and not the fact that I can move them wildly. And now I'm like losing my train of thought already because I can't talk with my hands. So all right, everybody, that's what I had to say today. Kind of a long discussion, this live Q&A about movement and speech. And I encourage you to check it out. Go on the internet and search around. There aren't very many videos about it because I looked and I'm about the only one making them. However, there is some nice work being done at universities. So you can Google movement and speech production, movement and auditory processing, movement and understanding. And there was a study, by the way, that did happen that showed people with aphasia. So this is people with brain problems after a stroke, a left hemisphere stroke, who had difficulty understanding speech, also understood speech better when movement was related, but it wasn't random movement in those people. If after a brain problem, the movement had to be correlated. So just like the boys who are using real signs to help them going, people with aphasia also need real signs. The flapping and gestures like that faded away with the anxiety, but it's the real signs more. I want more. Yes, nice to meet you. Like those signs that trigger the thought that they had that produced it out somehow is connecting, like singing. is helping them connect. Something is connecting together with it. So it's really fascinating to me. And I wanted to share it on today's live Q&A. So thank you very much. All right. So, hey, Avocado and Megs, thanks for watching. What a fab name. Thanks for your live Q&A videos. You are so welcome. I picked up a few great tips for my late toddler, 3 at the end of January. We stopped prompting and doing more natural approach and seeing progress. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's wonderful. And I want to let you know, if you have not put your input in on the Swapping the Prompting Challenge data collection I'm doing. I want to write my own little paper about how effective these strategies are for parents who I don't even work with. So like you, Avocado and Megs, if you are working with my strategies, if you've been all you have to have done is longer than a week to be able to participate in the study. And if you look for the Swapping the Prompting Challenge, there's a video about it, or if you send me a message, I'll actually put the link here after I'm done. So you can jump over there and answer some questions about your experience swapping the prompting. That's been the #1 video that has been feedback from people about the strategy that has helped them the most at home to uncover the blockages. Because many parents, there's lots of speech therapists out there giving you strategies. Use flashcards, hold things away from your kids, say the words over and over, talk nice and slow, all of that stuff. However, if your child is not listening to you because they are annoyed or they're bored or for a lot of different reasons, maybe you are only providing them with questions and directives instead of statements and exclamations, which are the first things that kids want to say. Hey, mom, look at me. And that's the other thing too. If you have a kiddo with apraxia and they're starting to do some movement with their mouth and making some sounds and things like that, you want to really focus on the fun phrases, because those are the things that connect both the idea, the fun, and the movement, because it's easy to say, hey, look at me. What are you doing today? Right on. I like it. That's cool. That's not cool. No, thank you. And you hear like the difference in my voice, and I put the gestures with those things. Those phrases for a child with apraxia, especially an older child, will always come before anything kind of structured. This is a book. I have an apple. Give me this thing, please. Because by this time, they know how to communicate all of that stuff in some other way. They figured it out by the time they're 10. If they're not getting it themselves, pointing to it, they figure out how to get what they need with their limited verbal. But what they can't communicate is their feelings. So that's where the emotional things come out. And it's really fun to be more like your friends when you say those phrases that are more like your friends. So, like if your friends are all saying, hey, that's rad. I don't know if kids say that anymore, but, or even the phrases that they hear on their favorite TV shows. Think about what those puppies say, or what the pigs say, or the people that your kids watch, Sesame Street folks. Think about those catchphrases that they say, Mickey Mouse and those guys. Use those phrases in your talking, and it gets your kids' attention for first, and it also really helps them start to listen to you, because they want to hear you say interesting, fun stuff that they would watch on a video. They don't want to hear you say the same old boring things that their teachers or therapists or, other people are saying. They want to hear cool, fun, entertaining things. If it isn't fun, it isn't fun. That's why I called my book. If it isn't fun, it isn't fun. So the first thing you need to do is make it fun. And that's always the first strategy that every parent tries, and it works great. If you are not enjoying the activity that you're trying to force your child to do, stop it. Stop forcing it. It's no fun for you, and it's no fun for them. It's easy to think of an alternative thing to do. It's not that you have to do nothing, of course. You have to do something. But if you start to move over and think about, what could I do little? maybe this is too big for my child. Maybe it's too much for them right now. Maybe my expectations as a mama are too high right now. This other mom has a 20-year-old and she was thrilled because her child said awawa when he had a handshake with a politician. And I was thrilled that he was offered the opportunity to talk to a politician. That's what a language facilitator parent does. And that's why that mom gave up therapy years ago, because she knows that everyday opportunities and learning about things that children love, no matter how sophisticated it is super important. It's super, super important. All right, I need to have a little drink of water. And then I have one more question that I want to get to today that came in, and it is from Wendy. Wendy, who's been following me for a while, and her question is, I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Wendy says, all right, my son is nonverbal, is showing more communication and socialization more lately at 5. He's 5 years old. I believe after watching a lot of your videos, and I believe the blockage is screen time on phones. He never showed interest in toys, but in electronics, even at a young age. So even from a very young age, this kiddo was given screens to use instead of toys because it was his preference. And I know that this little guy, I actually saw him in person because they visited me when I was out live at the festival in Orlando. And Wendy and her little guy came by to see me, and he's like a noodle boy. He's very floppy, and he's very dependent on other people to provide him with input. So this is very common in children who are spending a lot of time on screens from a young age. Think about you if you are having your screen time. If you're watching through videos and the video is annoying or boring, or you don't like it for whatever reason, or it's over, you quickly find something else that will entertain you. And you also even feel a little annoyed if what you're looking for isn't available. And then it might make you frustrated and decide to do something else or whatever. But a late talking child who, they don't know that there's other things in life. So even at a very young age, this little guy, for whatever reason, wasn't interested in toys. And it could be that Wendy didn't understand how to make toys more interesting than technology, which what she's doing now is she's figuring that out by providing other opportunities that aren't toys. It doesn't have to be a toy, because it's true, toys are limited. The internet is unlimited. You can see anything you want on there. But if you're watching videos and you might watch cartoons for 1 minute, and then music for another minute, and then real people for another minute, and movies of your family for another minute, there's all those different opportunities, and you can sit like a jelly roll, like this little guy does, in front of a propped up screen and just lay on stuff and watch. And that's kind of what he wanted to do even out in public, was lay around and wait for the entertainment to come to him. So parents who have kids who are stuck on technology, and I'm talking about more than 1 hour per day, right? 1 hour per day should be the maximum time your child spends on technology. If they are in school, it should be even less. It should be even less. You shouldn't need any technology except for a very short-term entertainment, maybe before bed. But there are many other things. Now, if your child doesn't like books or anything like that, they like music, it's okay to use those things. Like I said, 1 hour per day. But if there are other times off of that hour that you are not finding your child is able to do anything else, then it's time for you to start to get creative. And the way you do that is you start watching their videos with them. So you sit there with them while they're watching videos. And if they are, let's say they're a slug sitting on the couch, get out an exercise ball and have them bounce on the exercise ball. Not just lounge on it, but actually move a little while they're doing it. So because then sitting in one place, lounging around is sort of what they wanted. But in order to get the entertainment, it has to be a little bit less appealing. We have to move now to do it. And then you set visual timers and limit things. But whenever you are ready to get your child transitioned away from videos, because again, even if you watch with your child, you only watch for an hour, pay attention to what your child chooses. Don't pick the videos for them. See what they do and observe them. And then it's your job to find at least one outside environmental opportunity to present your child with whatever they thought was fun in that one video. And when you do, then your child will see, oh, that, maybe they like the music. So it's time to get out instruments and play music on your other device or sing. If your child is watching ABC videos over and over and over again, it's time to get some ABCs out or a whiteboard and start writing ABCs and singing along, looking like the video opportunities that he would see otherwise, but they're way more fun because you're talking about the same subjects, but you're doing things in real life. So if it's an ABC toy, you get ABC toys. If your child likes whatever it is on the music, or on the videos, you try to provide a real life opportunity that emulates that. If your child likes vehicles, it should be vehicles. If they like, whatever it is, outdoors, get outdoors. Put on your rain boots, put on your weather. There's no such thing as inappropriate weather unless there's some massive storm or something like that, because all it is inappropriate clothing. And if your child wants to go outside, then having the right kind of clothing is part of your language facilitation opportunity. And all of those everyday life things fill in the time that your child would be spending watching videos, because you're involving them in the process of everything you do. And I happen to know that Wendy's on her own in her house as a single mom with another child. So it's very busy in her life just getting through the day, especially since her child is not motivated to do anything on his own except watch these videos. She's going to have to work very hard at helping adapt him over to activities that he enjoys first. And then she's going to be able to present more opportunities to get him involved in the activities that he needs to do, like getting dressed and riding in the car, the things that you do every day on the way to school. That's how you move a child away from two-dimensional time into three-dimensional time. You make the three-dimensional time more fun than the video. And it always can be more fun if you eliminate pressure and blockages and directives, because anything can be fun. Brushing your teeth can be fun. Even if you don't like brushing your teeth, you can make the opportunity tolerable by understanding your child doesn't like it and making it as easy as possible. So if you want to learn about how to do all that and adapt those things in your household, that's when you work with me specifically. But these are the ideas that you need to take into. As a language facilitator parent, no one knows your household better than you. No one knows your situation, your family. You might have moms moving in with you, leaving you. You might be speaking more than one language. You might have many kids. You might have only one. Every family is different, and that's why these videos are diverse and the information is sort of general, because you as parents have the power to decide, how can I make this more fun in my house? And if that's all you do this week, great. And if you've done that before, think about one more thing that you can make fun. Think about one of the preparations or jobs or things you got to do this week. And yeah, it's going to take longer if you involve your late talker with you, but think about how you can involve them in the process. Get them to help you with life, and then they will be more interested to share what they are interested in with you. And that's how it works with language facilitation, everybody. It really is much easier than you think. Now, I don't have any more questions coming in today. So if you are watching me, this is live Q&A. So I just have a couple more minutes I'll be on. If you have a question now, post it in the comments. Tell me how old your child is. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing and where you feel stuck. And if you're watching on the replay, I'll get it on the next Q&A, which, by the way, is on Thursday, every Thursday on Facebook at 2 p.m. Eastern time. This one is noon every Monday. So you can always catch me here at noon every Monday. Don't forget, for those of you who are joining me now, there is a massive sale going on for all of my services before the end of the year. January 1st, 2020, Waves of Communication hits the road. I'm going to be out doing conferences around, my first one's in January in Orlando, and I'm going to be getting out to other places around the country. And I also am going to be, the prices are going up in my coaching programs, my face-to-face coaching programs. It's been very popular, and the parents are getting massive improvement. If you want to see any of the testimonials, you're welcome to check it out. In fact, all of the information is on my website, wavesofcommunication.com. So if you have an apraxia, a child with apraxia, or motor problems at all, or you suspect even motor problems, read the article in the description. Google it. The link is there, so you can check out the article. Get moving with your child while you're facilitating language. Just do it. Just move, just dance, walk around the block. If you don't know what to do with your child at all, and your child won't play with anything in your house, and you want to get them off the tablet, go for a walk. No matter what the temperature is, no matter what the conditions are. If it's raining, as long as it's not thundering, get out and walk around the block and splash in puddles and get your clothes wet, and then come in and change your clothes. All the things that happen in those weather and the elements, if you walk every day around your house, around your neighborhood, around your whatever, then even if you walk to the end of the block and back, it's a way for you to provide opportunities for your child to facilitate language. And again, if you want to know how to do all that, you can just find my website, wavesofcommunication.com. And I'll see you again next week. I don't see any more questions coming in today, so I'm going to boogie off of here for now. See you all on Thursday. Have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you all in my next video.